Okay, in this video, I'm going to tell you about why I left a real estate team and chose to go independent, all the pains and reasons that caused me to leave, and actually some of the regrets I found when I made that jump. Let's get into it. What's up everyone, my name is Cameron Hodge. On this channel I talk about everything on my real estate journey and also building my business here as an agent with eXp Realty and everything there is to know about it and sharing my tips, tricks, and know-how. If you are interested in making a switch to eXp, you're looking to get into the industry or just to have a conversation with a fellow agent who's trying to figure things out, this number popping up below is how you can get a hold of me, call, text, email, or even schedule a Zoom call down below. I love having conversations with teams, broker owners, independent agents. It's what I do, it's what I love, is helping share on this journey because I know I'm not the only one out there who's looking for support and community to help build their business and grow beyond. So I obviously, when I got into the industry, like I think many agents, we get in joining a team and being a part of something, right? We can all think back to when, if you're not in the industry, I'm sure someone has brought this up to you or you saw something online that caused that spark of like, man, I think I can do this. And that's what happened to me. So to give you a quick backstory, when I got out of the military in 2018, I originally, went to work as a contractor, like a lot of military members do. They do their same job they did in the military, and they're like, hey, here's a contracting business making an hourly wage, probably not any benefits, and you're probably working as much time as you did in the military, and you really don't get much. And I realized I'm like, this is not for me. This is not what I want. I want something better for me and my family and to be bigger than this. And what I chose to at the time was I ran into being a mobile notary. And I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. I think this would be my next step. Before this as well, when I was in the military, we had bought our first rental property and we had, started as a short-term rental, and we're in that time period of 2018 and 19 transitioning it into a yearly leased rental just to make that transition. And so I had real estate experience on a very small level. I had bought and sold multiple personal homes on top of the rental property I was managing at the time. And I started this mobile notary business, and I did that for 2.5 years. I grew it to about $5,000 a month towards the end of it, before taxes and all that stuff. And I can tell you, like, it was good, but it was like I gained another job. It wasn't really satisfying. I feel like I was working a lot of hours for very little money, and I'm like, there has to be something better than this. There's no way in this world of sales or just starting a business, this just doesn't feel like this is the right option for me. And around that time, I had gone to a networking event and came across an individual who, I knew he was very well connected. He was very successful in what he did in the real estate industry, and I knew that this was potentially a next step for me. And personally, he ghosted me. And I stayed in touch. He said he would have a meeting with me, we would connect, and I called him religiously on like a follow-up schedule. And when we finally got to meet, he's like, wow, like, you have a decent follow-up. Like, have you ever thought about being in real estate sales? And I'm like, you know what? No, I hadn't. I hadn't really thought about being in real estate sales. I was like, I could give it a shot. Why not? So I ended up getting a job as an ISA for his brokerage. They were building a national brokerage, but I was working specifically for his team locally in San Diego at the time. And, it got me into it. And long story short, I ended up, while working there, got licensed in October of 2020. And, the rest is history. I should have been licensed sooner, but, they obviously paused all testing during COVID and that whole crazy crap that went on. And that's what started it from there. And leading into 2021, I realized, I'm like, you know what? I need to make a decision to go independent. A lot of reasons had added up to that. I found multiple benefits of being on a team before I talk about the cons. I found that it was nice that I got some leads. I'll be honest, being a new agent on a team, I'm not gonna say for all teams, but for most situations, you're probably just gonna be getting the worst leads. You're gonna be getting the lowest price points, the biggest out there. Maybe you're getting outdated lists, and that's kind of how I started. I was getting some money doing the ISA work. I was getting paid per transaction of lead. So if I took the lead and I was able to get it to an agent, if that deal closed, I got about $500 for that transaction. So I was making average money for the income, like for what I was doing. It was great, but I was working a lot. The phone was always attached to me, whether it was inbound or I did some outbound with like circle prospecting, not too much. A lot of it at that time was a lot of inbound, Zillow leads, Google ads, stuff like that. And I realized really quick, I'm like, wow, like this, I'm burnt out because I had no life, because there wasn't any way I could structure it, because, you know, I was predicated on what they were structuring my life to be, because that's how their system was. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think, you know, that 1 year I also spent time as a broker assistant as well. I eventually started with that position, and while doing that, I also translated to his assistant. So anything that an agent wasn't required on when it came to his clients, I was a part of. I did it. I was there around listing appointments. And to be honest with you, that first year, while I didn't get paid much for like the constant like 7 days a week schedule I was doing, I got experience that I would never trade for the world. So, you know, that talks about the benefits, but the cons were, is I found that I'm like, I didn't see much growth. Even my referrals were getting 20% taken from. And all this money really added up to, I'm like, you know what, like everything's pretty much considered a team lead. If that client referred 2 clients down the road, I still had to pay, you know, I got the team split and I only got 20%. And I'm like, you know what, I'm like, I feel I have more drive and more ability in myself than where I'm currently at. So I made a decision. It was pretty abrupt, you know, which I'm sure caused a little pain with them. I just had enough. I was like, I was at a breaking point, and I'm like, I had to move on. I had to go independent. Teams are, so if you're a new agent or maybe you're in a situation where you're currently on a team, and you might already know this, being on a team brings a lot of benefits, or it should. Every single team is different. Every team is structured differently. The people are different. The good things about being on a team is you have atmosphere. So being self-employed and going this route, one of the biggest flaws is you don't have a community and you feel very alone. Well, when you're on a team, most likely 1 day a week, you're probably having a team meeting at a minimum, maybe some extra training on top of that, things like that, and you get in this atmosphere of people to where if you see like the top agents in your office producing, you're like, I can do that because they're clearly doing it. What I found though is not all agents on a team are open to telling you about what to do. Agents, like, you know, it's just the whole industry, and they get very selfish. They're very like, no, closed-minded, like I don't give away secrets, my secrets, my clients, my whatever, and I hate that. And I found that a lot of teams end up being that way. Maybe not the head of the team, the broker's not that way, but, you know, the agents on a team can be very like employee minded, where they're very just like, you know, it's like feast or famine. It's very feast or famine, and that's something I did not like. I'm like, you know what, I can do better than this. We all say that, right? That's how hard times always start. Even if there is light at the end of the rainbow, like gold at the end of the rainbow, like it's the pain that comes afterwards. And hopefully your team's providing leads, which is probably the biggest benefit that a lot of people find. I will tell you that I wasn't getting many leads. I definitely got one closing the whole time. Everything else was self-generated by me, aside from the ISA closing money I was getting. And I was just like, this is just not enough. I mean, even the open house, I got a lead. I did an open house. Wasn't my listing, it was the team's listing. And I had an open house, and that ended up being cut down. So they're like, hey, because it was our open house, that lead is now a team lead. So we're going to cut you down to 20%. And that was like the final straw. And I'm like, you know what? This is ridiculous. I feel like no matter what I do, like if there's a way for it to be even considered or even a thought to be a team lead, they're going to do it. And they're going to take a majority of my money, and I'm freaking broke. I'm tired of being broke. I'm like, I would rather be broke on my own than be broke on a team where even when I do get business, 80% is getting taken off the top. I didn't like it. It frustrated me, and I had way too much drive to be in that position. Especially if you're a veteran, you understand that you just have, like, I think a lot of us as veterans who get into business, like we have such a drive and a work ethic that we're like, I think a lot of times we're like, I can't freaking do this. So I went independent, and I learned very quick. I learned really quick. It didn't take me long because I already kind of had some knowledge before this, thankfully. The cool thing is I probably helped between 20, probably about 30 transactions I assisted on or got to watch. I also worked with the team TC, and I got to learn a lot of like the workings and systems that need to be in place to service a higher volume of clients. And I was really thankful for that, because it allowed me, when I went independent, to not be shocked too much about what I had to do to make things work. At the time, I went from that original brokerage to Real Broker. And I went there originally because it seemed like there was light by an individual who recruited me to that brokerage. I found out very quick that the support wasn't there. In fact, I was getting asked to pay money. It was freaking, I'm like, what the fuck? Excuse my language there. But that's what happened. But the biggest shock was, I'm like, crap, I have to generate business. And that last year, business was being generated for me to a point. And now I realized, crap, I don't have money. I need business. And that led me down the rabbit hole of learning very quickly. Now, I did thankfully had that one closing that gave me some funds in June of that year. And in July, August, I found a position. I had a couple referrals closed on top of that from around the country, helping other family and friends, which were great. That money, I took that. I got lucky. Well, we decided to sell our condo in August in San Diego. And I'm like, okay. I've learned. I'm going to use this listing to spearhead more clients. And I sent out mailers. I called around the neighborhood. The open houses, everything I needed to do. And I had, obviously it was a hot market. It was a really competitive seller market, as it still kind of is in some places around the country. And I thankfully ended up getting 2 more listings from that on top of several prospects, which I'm still following up with to this day. And those listings, by the end of that year, I was able to close 7 transactions, and not including referrals out of state, which is amazing. I will be honest and say the listings in the heat of the market really kind of propelled that, and I marketed the listings properly, which allowed me to get those 7 transactions, after including the one my first broker. So we'll say 6. I didn't. Oh, we'll remove my private one because I'm being fully honest here. So we'll say I did 5 transactions that weren't my own or from that first broker. So I self-generated them. That's 5 transactions, which for a first year, like half a year being actually like active an agent, not bad. But I learned really quick coming into January of even this year in 2022 that I'm now in position where I was like, oh crap, I had no lead generation systems in place. My entire pipeline was just non-existent. And I think a lot of agents, when we go independent, like you might have clients from the brokerage when you leave the team or something like that, and all of a sudden you're like, oh crap. You realize really quick that if you're not doing activities on a daily, weekly, monthly that you need to do to generate business, it eventually dries up. And that's what happened to me. And all of a sudden I went down to like $200 in my business bank account. I'm like, oh, shit. Like now I'm in a position where I got to figure out what to do. I did get into cold calling. I started to build lender partners and CPAs and things like that. And thankfully I ended up getting another transaction shortly after that. Also was a for sale by owner that I called, got that deal done this year. And then all of a sudden, but in February, I did start to actually take my business seriously. I don't know why. In January, I knew what I needed to do, and I still didn't do it. I don't know why. Thankfully, I was very conservative with my funds from the last year, so all of that was carrying me forward at this point. But I realized, crap, I got to figure something out. That's when I finally decided I knew I should have. I made the switch to EXP. And before this, I moved the switch to EXP last September. And I was learning, didn't put anything to practice. Fast forward, February 2022, I started my YouTube channel. I started this channel as well to not document my journey because I'm like, someone else has to be struggling like I am. And I started to figure out, okay, how can I cheaply generate leads? Obviously, cold calling comes into that fact. Open houses, things like that. I realized personally, while I do fight the cold calling, I'm not good at it. I don't do it consistently. And, a lot of people hate me for that, but at the same time, I'm now in a situation where, unfortunately, I did take a hard hit in 2022, but now all of a sudden the pipeline's coming to fruition where I actually am having to figure things out. I'm in between multiple markets. I'm partnering with an agent in Orlando to build a team there. And I'm also servicing clients in San Diego that I still had. And I'm in a situation where I'm like, it's a good problem to have, but I'm like having to figure out all this logistics. And it's a good problem to have. And I also have a blog website that I created for Orlando to start generating leads and provide value to those who are relocating to that area. And all these things kind of culminated to a situation where it finally came to fruition. But look how, it's over a year later after leaving my team that my active results started to bring my own efforts. So, leaving a team can seem like it puts more money in your pocket, but you have to make sure that that's what you actually want. Being on a team, you can still do all these things, but have the security and support of the team if it's a good team. Personally, the team I was on wasn't a fit for me. The brokerage wasn't a fit for me. And being at EXP, I now, even though I'm an independent agent, like I feel like I'm a part of a giant team, because I have never been at a brokerage where like regular agents, like even if you, especially if you're watching YouTube, you've probably seen Mike Sherrard. Like I even got connected with Mike, and I have his number in my phone just because I knew something, you know, being at Real Broker, and he needed to shoot a video, and he asked for my insight, and you know, and shout out to him because he's just amazing at what he does. But they just give information away. People in this brokerage who stay with EXP are just such an open book. So if you are looking to become an independent agent, I implore you to look at your other options, especially EXP, because it allows you to be surrounded in a community with training, or you can still be on a team. No one says you can do that. You can choose the proper upline that aligns with you, and you can still be on a team. It's the greatest model currently in existence, I believe, in real estate. It's the cloud brokerage model. Now, it's scary, so if you are looking to one piece of advice I can give you, if you are looking to go independent and you're on a team, start separating yourself early. Set up your own independent email address. I can't tell you, I didn't do this in my first brokerage and it destroyed me. Pay the $12 a month to have Google Workplace and set up a branded email. Like, it will save you so much hassle. I don't care what brokerage you're going to, do that. If your team makes you use an email, just use it for team stuff. But have your own private email for your own clients. Because when you leave and all those things disappear, it will destroy you. Your database. I don't care if you have to put it in a Google spreadsheet to prepare yourself for the move, do it. Because once you leave, your brokerage will probably cut that off so fast, you'll be screwed. And you need to make sure that you're starting early, you're preparing yourself to make that transition, because it's not an easy transition. Make sure you start with 3 things, like a triangle approach, right? What are the 3 things you're gonna do to generate business? Figure those out, figure out what you have to do daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, do it. Stick to it, create a plan. If you don't know a plan, reach out to people like me or anyone else at where you're going to and ask, hey, this is what I want to do. What should my schedule look like? And there are always people happy to help you. If you are looking to leave the team, or you are looking to make switch to another brokerage and align with people who have your same mindset and actually want your business to grow, this number popping up below is how you can get a hold of me. Call, text, email, Zoom call down below. I am here to have a conversation. I can tell you it's scary going independent, but it could be the best decision you ever make, or it could be the worst. It all depends on preparation before making that jump. So I hope you got value in this video, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.